Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Maddrey, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
I'm Valerie Comer, and the other co-host is Cooney.
Yes, Cooney is apparently making repeated appearances. And we also have Toni Shiloh making another repeated appearance, speaking of which, with us today. So we're all old hats. Thank you for coming back again today, Toni.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we are talking about fake relationships today. Love them, hate them, something in between. Toni, what do you think?
I adore fake relationships.
Okay.
It's mostly because I know that they're going to be forced to deal with their feelings, either because they started off like in the, enemies to lovers type way and made a deal like with the devil, so to speak, or because, they're friends and they need help and then they deal with their friendships more. So either way, I just like the fact that they have to deal with their feelings, and it's usually in a fun, kooky way.
Yes. All right, Valerie?
I think they're kind of fun too. They're a little tricky because, we're not supposed to be applauding lying in Christian fiction, but there's lots of ways to come at the whole thing, and I love the creativity that authors come up with in doing that. There's some really fun stories, fun angles.
Narelle?
And I love them too. Although the lying thing, if it's not done well, the lying thing, can actually trip me up a bit in the story. So there are some authors that you don't even think about the fact that the fake relationship is a lie in terms of the way it's written. But there are other stories where it can be problematic, but usually I'm fine, if that makes sense.
I'm not a huge fan. I will read them.
I knew that was coming. The rest of us love them, so you'll be like,
I'm a weird one. One of these things is not like the others, So I don't not like them, but I certainly don't seek them out. But I will read them, like if I'm reading the book because I wanted to read the book and it's like, oh, it's a fake relationship, then I'm okay. I'm fine with that. But I do sometimes struggle with like this whole idea of basing your life on a lie. Sometimes I can suspend disbelief enough that it's not a problem, but then sometimes I'm just like, y'all need to just figure a different way to solve this problem. Because this is, when it starts like this cascading, and you see it, I think, a little more in like rom-coms where it's rom-com fake relationship. And it's this cascading series of lies that just get bigger and deeper and worse. Like, what's the Sandra Bullock movie? The Proposal.
I was going to say, there's so many.
Where, her assistant, they're supposed to be this whole fake, and it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Funny, but still also ridiculous. So that's me.
That does suit rom-com really well, though.
Yeah.
The tendency to just like get in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and the more you try to avoid it. I don't think I've got any rom-coms in my list. That's really too bad.
I do.
Fun ones.
I have rom-coms.
Narelle's got us. We're good. All right. So are there things in fake relationship stories that you absolutely have to see, or things that you absolutely wish no one would ever write again? Anything like that, Toni?
So oddly enough, I'm all about the awkward kiss.
Okay.
Because someone's going to demand they kiss for whatever reason, whether it's fake relationship over the holidays or whatever. And I always like to see how they deal with it. Either because they realize that's the point where they realize they like the other person, or whatever. If someone makes it funny, that's even better. So.
Okay. Valerie?
Who do I wish I would never see again? There needs to be a distinct reason. And I mean, there's a limited number of those, obviously. Sure. Like in reality. So I guess a lot of it just depends on the skill of the author in making the characters believable. The characters have to believe that this is the only way forward, or the way that makes the most sense. And if the author can convince the characters, then the characters can convince me. But there is a few places where that chain can be broken.
Sure. Narelle, what do you think?
Well, as long as the motivation is there and that will bring the conflict along with it, then I'm fine. But if the characters are twits and are just silly, and if they could go through the story and not be in a fake relationship and nothing changes, then I'll walk away from that. Yeah. But as long as that, it has to be meaningful to the story in a significant way, and then I'm happy to go along for the ride.
How about you, Beth?
I like it when they acknowledge sort of the inanity of their plan, where they have to at least take a moment and think, like, normal people don't do this. This is not something normal people do.
Yeah.
Just even for 2 seconds, and then it's like, too bad, it's what we're gonna do. But just to have that moment of, wait, is there, if I spent 5 minutes, could I come up with something else? Because this is weird. Like, let's just lay it on the table that this is weird.
But we already committed to this.
We're committed.
So here we go.
Right. My title has fake relationship in it, so I'm committed. But yeah,
there has to be stakes. There has to be something. If we don't do this fake relationship thing, then one or both of the characters has to have something majorly bad happen as a consequence, and that's what drives the fake relationship.
They have to fear it anyways.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
It may not be, it usually isn't as horrible as they thought, but they do have to believe it, and they have to convince us that they believe it.
It's true of so much of life. We always seem to think it's going to be so much worse than it actually is. But
yeah, no, that's true.
Cool. All right. Well, let's dive in. Toni, you want to start us out with books? You first?
Yes. So I picked Teresa Tysinger's Say It's for Good. It just came out last month. Mm-hmm. We're in March now.
I was going to say, I don't think I've read that one. I've read several of hers, but not that one.
Yeah. So in this one, I don't want to give everything away, but I'm sure it's on a back cover blurb. But basically, the heroine's Leah, her father is dying, and the only thing he wants to see is her happily married before he goes. Enter fake relationship, but she adds in the fact that it's a second chance romance because they used to date in high school. So there's all that conflict and angst in there. Plus, it has sort of like a Gilmore Girls vibe to it. So I was pretty much there for the entire book.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Valerie. I haven't read that one yet, so I don't have either of you read it? Because I can't comment, but because I'm behind on Teresa's books.
I haven't either.
I haven't.
Okay. All right.
But I do want to say, like, that is a really common, in general, a really common premise, because somebody's dying and they just want to see you happily married. But would most
good one though,
elderly people or whatever actually want their child to be married to somebody they don't really know, just to satisfy themselves? That's a hard one, I think.
Probably not, which is why I like the fact that she used an old high school boyfriend. Because the dad knew him, the dad loved him, like he was the one who got away kind of thing. So
smart.
Just piles on the guilt more.
Ooh, gotta love some good parental guilt.
Love it. All right, now Valerie, your first one.
The first one that I picked is Honeysuckle Dreams by Denise Hunter, and it was one I had read several years ago, and I was like, I know there's a Denise Hunter that fits this one, so I went digging around in my Kindle, found it, and read part of it again because I was like, I just got sucked right in. So soon after Brady's ex-wife dies, he discovered that his 9-month-old son, Sammy, is not actually his son. So this is a problem. And his former wife's parents know this, and they're trying to take Sammy away from him. So again, this is a situation where you go, would this really happen in real life, where a lawyer would say, well, if you just were engaged or married, you'd have a better count. I mean, he's not the baby's father. Like, how, he's been there his whole life though. So I don't know. But anyways, his best friend, so this is a best friends to lovers story as well, is Hope. And she'll do anything for Brady because she loves Sammy. She's taking care of him sometimes, and she just can't bear to see him lose this baby. And so she'll do anything for him, including a fake relationship. And as is always the case, it just devolves from there. Yeah, a long, long way. I mean, she's willing to marry him for real as well. It's not because she, as is often the case, she has some feelings that have been buried for a long time. Hello to the friends to lovers trope.
Sure.
But yeah,
Cool.
I think good story. Recommended.
Excellent. Narelle.
Okay, well, I'm surprised this one hasn't been brought up yet, but I've chosen Joined at the Hip by Liwen Y Ho, which is the third book in her Fab 40 series. And so this came out, I think it was in Save the Date, but she then released it on the 1st of March as a single, and she added extra chapters. So I bought it because this is the single. So that's the one I read.
I didn't know about the extra chapters.
Yeah, there's extra chapters. I do my research.
Okay, fine. I didn't do my research, but I really enjoyed it in Save the Date. It was one of my favorites.
Yes. Yeah. So this one, it was really fun. And I will look for a fake relationship that has a twist. And this one is a rom-com and it's hilarious. And it has a really fun twist where the heroine, what's her name? September. She works for a magazine as a writer, and she does like budget type money stories. And then there's this guy, Tristan, who also has been working with her for 5 years, who is a bit of a broody hero, doesn't really talk to people, sort of keeps to himself. And September ends up pitching in for an article where she has to write an article on renewing your wedding vows. And so Tristan volunteers to be her fake husband as they go and do all the research and go to all the different places as if they're renewing their wedding vows. And it is hilarious and it is really funny. So if you want to look at a fake relationship it's very much friends to more, in terms of they start off with a friendship and then they realize, there's a bit more here than they thought. And their mothers are hilarious as well. Liwen does mothers very well. So yeah, yes. So it's a really fun story. And I just like the twist in terms of being renewing wedding vows is the reason for the fake relationship.
You're going to make me go buy that book as a single, aren't you? Yeah,
I am.
I can see this coming here. Click.
This is not my first book, but I'm wondering with Liwen's book, is it similar to Carol Mancato's? It's the first book I read by her, and I think it might be the first book she published, Finding Mr. Right.
I have read that a long time ago.
So in that one, it's I don't even know what you call it. Maybe it's an accidental marriage. Like she's writing an article, and they go to the county clerk to like find out, and they pretend like that they're getting a marriage license and stuff, but they end up like there's a disconnect between what they tell the person and then the person who actually does the paperwork, and they end up being married for real. Okay. Because
that was the one where they go to the writing conference, isn't it? She included she based it on ACFW. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
No, this is different. So this is completely, it's a work project. So the people sort of that are around her know what's going on. Okay. And it's purely driven by the fact that she's doing research for this article. And so they're basically going through all the steps. So you go to the florist, you go to the baker, like all the different steps you go through in terms of renewing your vows.
Cool.
You don't accidentally go someplace and say them at each other. I mean, all right then.
right. All right. So my first one is Someday Soon by Melissa Tagg. And it is Paige, who is a reporter, and then Noah, who is the brother of Luke, who was a prior hero, if that helps anyone who's a Melissa Tagg junkie. And Noah is looking for a place to rent. And so he shows up this is all at the beginning. He shows up in front of the like a garage apartment. And it's got this dock with a lake out back. And he looks out and there's this woman in a canoe with no oars, and it's gonna be a thunderstorm very soon. So he but then he realizes that it's Paige, who has been like the bane of his existence for the last 6 months. And so, but he's like, well, I can't let her get electrocuted in the lake. So he's like, why don't you just swim back to shore if you don't have your oars? And she can't swim. So he has to go out and rescue her. And then it turns out that she was the one who listed the apartment as an income suite for her, because it's like the garage of her home that she just bought, but she used her initials instead of her name when she listed it. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't have even come if I had known that it was you. But he ends up renting it. And then when he's moving in, her dad has come to town, and Paige like always feels like she doesn't measure up to her dad, that she's just super wanting, and that he has to sort of smother her, because, and she takes it as dad feeling that she's so completely inept at life that he just has to be there constantly to check up on her, and that she's never good enough. So she's showing him the apartment, and he's being a little belittling, snippy, or whatever. And so Noah hears this, and he's like, he goes in and he's like, well, isn't it lucky? Because the dad was like, you know, what if it's a weirdo or a serial killer? And so Noah's like, well, isn't it lucky that it's her boyfriend? And so then Paige is kind of like, but she's like, no, I can go with this. And so it goes from there. And it's kind of fun because they both agree that it was a stupid spur of the moment thing, but at this point they're kind of committed to it. So she's like, it's just till dad leaves town. You know, he'll be here for maybe a week and a half, but then like dad keeps staying. And so so it's very fun. And I really like it.
I had forgotten that story. I have read it, but as you started out, I'm like, this stupid woman out in a canoe with no paddles.
Well, she had paddles.
And she can't swim. Like, it's just an
she did start out with paddles, but like her hat blew off. So she put the paddle down to try and grab her hat, but she didn't like put it in the canoe. It slid off this, you know, so, but yeah, she was kind of stupid.
Not the brightest.
Not the brightest tool in the shed.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. But I'd forgotten as you're starting this, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is sounding familiar, but the fake relationship, where is that? Yeah. But yeah, I do remember it now. And yeah, I did enjoy that one. But I forgot it was a fake relationship. Oops.
Well, they do. I will say they kind of decide to try it for real fairly quickly in the story. You know, because they both struggle with the, you know, lying aspect of it. So maybe that's why I liked it so much, is because they're like, I don't want to lie. So if we need to keep this pretense up, we have to at least try to go on a real date and see what happens, kind of thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Toni, you have a second one?
I do. And I was going to pick, I'm looking at my list.
That's okay.
Sorry if you can hear my background.
That's okay.
All good.
Okay. I was going to pick actually one of my books, The Truth About Fame.
Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah.
That's because I feel like Valerie said, I did a clever twist because she's being stalked and they want to flush the stalker out. So her bodyguard is the one who suggests the fake relationship. And I also had a lot of fun writing it and laughing the entire time. So
no, that's a good one. That was on my list.
Yeah, it was on mine too.
If you have a lot of fun while you're writing, then you got to be doing something right.
Exactly.
Because there have been times when I haven't had so much fun. And then
I always fear that I'll be the only one laughing. That's my, because you know, you're laughing at home and you're like, wait, will anyone else laugh at it, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, it's not just you.
Me
No,
and a
what-
half
yeah.
dozen people who have a weird sense of humor like I do. The
There's
rest
got to
of
be
them-
someone out there. Exactly. And even if it is just you, that's okay. I know that there are jokes in my books that I think are hilarious that probably no one else gets, but I'm like, too bad. Too bad.
And I like that one because there was a really compelling reason for the fake relationship. Like it
Yes.
made sense. Like they have this problem to solve, and the fake relationship was a very logical way of solving it. So I enjoyed that one.
Super good. Shades of Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
All right. Before I start singing I Will Always Love You, we will go to Valerie. You're welcome.
My second book is by Elizabeth Maddrey, who actually has several fake relationship books, but I chose
Ooh,
the most.
which one did you pick?
So you need a fake relationship.
Yeah.
I had that on my list
This is
too.
part of the Do You Want to Be a Billionaire series that
Yep.
came out in 2021, in which the owner of Robinson Enterprises pits a man and a woman against each other to head up every division. So this particular book is towards the end of that series, and Melanie is bright enough to figure out that everybody else is dating for real, and some of them are even engaged. And she looks at the guy she was paired with, whom she kind of has a crush on, but he's not into her, obviously, or he'd have asked her out by now. But she thinks, you know what? I bet you we get disqualified somehow if we're not in a relationship. I bet you that this was the goal all along. And which, do I dare say it? She was correct in that. Spoiler alert, sorry.
Yeah.
So she convinces Ian to go along with her idea of pretend dating for a while to see if that makes a difference in their odds of getting the promotion to the team. So that was a lot of fun, partly because I loved everybody already in the series, and seeing it play out through this fake relationship in this particular instance was very entertaining.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Agreed.
All right, Narelle, what you got?
Okay, my second one is Fake Engagement Mistake by Lisa Renee. So I haven't spoken about Lisa Renee before. She's an Australian author that writes rom-coms. As I said, this is my second rom-com I'm talking about. And this one is a novella, so it's a shorter story. It's if you're watching this episode and it's still May, in the Love, Faith and Tender Kisses box set, which ends at the end of May, this is the first book in that. And if you read the sample, you can read the whole story effectively for free.
Oh, wow.
So if you haven't picked up the box set, if you haven't read this book and you're listening in May and you haven't delayed listening to our podcast, you've got a few more days if you're listening to it on the day that it's dropped. Yes, you can go read this story for free. Yeah, so it's really fun. It's set in Colorado, and the main character, Becca, she really enjoys working out on the snowfields and doing stuff with nature and being away from people. She's not an extrovert that wants to have a million people around her. And her parents are
I like her already.
Yes. And because she's a smart girl, she could go to college, and her parents are really, really pushing her to go to Denver and go to college. And she really doesn't want to go to college. So she comes up with this bright idea and this is the brother's best friend trope, to have a fake engagement with her brother's best friend. And her brother's 5 years older than her. So this guy is older than her. And so secretly she crushed on him when she was younger. And he's noticed that she's now not the little girl, she's grown up, and this is interesting. And so he's an accountant in this steady job, has his own business in town, and so that ticks the boxes for the parents. So they start this fake relationship, and it's a really fun story. I really enjoyed it, and it kicks off Lisa's series that's set in Colorado.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
I
Tell
have
me
that
the
one
title
on my
again.
Kindle. So
Fake
Yes.
engagement. Fake engagement. What?
Fake Engagement Mistake.
Mistake.
So it's
Nice.
also available as a single. I think it's also available in audiobook as well,
fun.
by memory. Yeah,
cool.
That sounds fun. That sounds really fun.
it's good.
All right. So my second one is Her Roommate's Brother by Hannah Jo Abbott. So it is a friend's brother, best friend's brother, not brother's best friend trope. And so Allie is always, her mom is desperate for her to get married or at least be in a stable relationship that could lead to it. So every time she goes home for dinner, there's always a blind date sitting there waiting that her mom has arranged. Like her mom is constantly bringing guys over. Oh, well, he just popped in. And Allie is just kind of over it.
Mom.
Yeah. Because they're never anyone that she would choose on her own. So her roommate's brother is in town to do some stuff. And actually, he's there for some secret reasons of his own. His business in, I think, Atlanta is struggling. So he's thinking of moving back home because he doesn't know what else to do. And so, but he doesn't want to tell his sister this or anyone else because he doesn't want to be a big failure loser. And so he's made up this other reason that he's in town. So she asks him, hey, come to dinner with me, pretend to be my boyfriend. This will get my mom off my back and you get dinner out of it. So, everybody wins. Mom's a good cook, so that's not an issue. And he ends up using their fake relationship as well to sort of like dodge his sister and dodge the questions because, oh, gotta run, I'm meeting Allie kind of thing. So it works out well for both of them, right until it doesn't anymore.
Always the fun moment in a story.
Yeah.
I read that one too, enjoyed it. I'd forgotten about it as well because my list honestly could have been a dozen just like of the things that I thought of in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Me too.
I did not have that experience. As you guys were saying them, I'm like, oh yeah. But when I was sitting here staring at my computer screen trying to write down titles to talk about, I'm like, have I read any? We probably could squeeze in one more if we have one more. You have a third one, Toni?
I do. I came prepared just in case because I figured, because I was like you, Elizabeth. I felt like, why can't I think of any? So I made a list and I was like, someone's going to have some of these on here. So my list will dwindle fast, but no one has said this one.
Yay.
And I feel like, yay. Krista Phillips, The Engagement Plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is going to be turned into a movie and I'm super excited and hope.
Me too.
I can't wait to watch it. I think the reason why I like this one, besides the fact that it's going to be a movie now, is that I genuinely laughed out loud. I feel like sometimes like the fake relationships, I come in thinking I'm going to laugh the entire time and I don't. And then I'm kind of disappointed. But this one had me genuinely laughing out loud. And sometimes it was like secondhand embarrassment laughter. Like, oh,
yes.
Like that would be so me. And I feel your pain.
Krista's good at that. Krista's good at the office level cringe where you're just like, oh.
Exactly.
I was lucky enough to get to endorse that one from the publisher and loved it then. Love it now. Can't wait to see it as a movie.
Yeah.
A movie. Yes, I'm going to watch a movie.
Yay. Write it down.
If I can find it. If I can find it in Canada.
Yeah. See, and I love that book, but I didn't even trigger that it was fake relation. It is. It totally is. Yeah. But I didn't even, I'm like, duh, of course it is. But didn't help me a week ago when I was making my list.
I figured you guys would be talking about it, so I didn't add it to my list. So that was a good bet.
That's funny. We're all trying to guess into each other's brains here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Valerie, what's your last one?
Well, I mean, unless somebody else wants to talk about this.
Me.
Okay, well, then I'll go on to a different one. Then my third book is His Wakeup Call by Jan Thompson. Single 30-something Sebastian hires his sister's best friend. These tropes do seem to go together really well, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
To be his fake girlfriend for the summer in order to win back his ex-fiancée. He wants her jealous. And so, I mean, that's not the most noble of causes, truly. But he and Tara had split up so many times that he figured she would be back any minute, and she wasn't. She's moved on, and Emmeline needs the money he offers her, but it doesn't take long for them to forget that this is just a ruse. And then he begins to wonder why he ever wanted Tara back anyway, because she's treated him like dirt all these years just as a backup and stuff. So if you're looking for something that comes back to the morality of the fake relationship, and you know how somebody might come to realize this might not have been their brightest moment, then this one might help out with that. Good story.
All right, Narelle.
Well, I'm going to talk about Marry Me for Real. If Valerie can get the book for us, and Valerie Comer, it's a pretty cover. And the reason I chose this one is, well, Toni was talking about earlier with the awkward kiss. And this one, you don't often see a kiss in the first chapter of a book, but in this one, it's so fun. So the main character, I've read it a while ago, so I've got to remind myself of the story, is Riley. And so she's in, I can't remember the name, it's the meat, the eating place, like this Golden something.
Golden Grill.
Yeah.
That's it, the Golden Grill. So she's in the Golden Grill, and there's been this sleazy guy she needs to get rid of. And so she sees this cowboy, Adam, who's across the room, and she gets this impulsive, crazy idea to walk up and kiss him and get him to pretend to be her boyfriend to get rid of this sleazy guy. And as things would happen, it's the whole concept of a fake relationship comes up, and he's like, oh, I could do with a fake relationship. That could help me out with a problem as well. And so she ends up going to the ranch, and it's a super fun story. But I just love the way it was set up at the beginning with this impulsive kiss that just these two strangers that just end up in a fake relationship. It's quite a good twist on the fake relationship trope. So I had to talk about that one. Val might have something more she'd like to add.
It was a ton of fun because, yeah, I mean, they started kissing in chapter 1 and never, well, I mean, they did stop. I mean, they had words and things, but
it's just pages and pages and pages of kissing. it's that kid from Princess Bride Nightmare.
Yeah,
it
right.
Is a kissing
it's a
book.
kissing book.
It's a kissing book. Ew. Yes, buddy, it is. It's definitely a kissing book.
And lots of fun.
Yes, lots and lots of fun.
I think that's my favorite in this series.
Thank you.
I don't think I could pick a favorite, but it'd be up there. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. So my last one is also a cowboy book. I want props for looking for a cowboy book and actually reading it all of my own accord. It is Show Me a Fake Fiance by Alexa Verde. And it is it's sort of similar. She has just gotten divorced from a really abusive, creepy ex. And so she and her boys, she's looking for a job. She has this interview at the ranch and gets the job. But then the ex-husband comes back and is trying to make lots and lots of trouble. So the ranch owner, who's a great guy, really respects her for her work, has clearly an overdeveloped protective instinct, but he's like, why don't we pretend to be engaged, because then it'll get some of his family off his back, who's trying to get him to settle down as well, and that'll get your ex to leave you alone, and it solves my problem of my family being on my case. Win-win-win. And so nothing has to happen. You just wear this ring and we'll act engaged when we need to. And she's hesitant, but the kids were all in on it, but I don't think they really grasped the fake part of it, which was fun to see the kids from both sides sort of like pushing. So you get a little bit of like the Parent Trap, pushing them together. So it was fun. It's really cute. And it's part of her Cowboy Crossing series, I think is what it's called.
Where did you get the ring from?
Huh?
It's just like, where do you get the ring from?
He went shopping with her.
Oh, okay.
In town when they
Good
when they decided to do it, and he's like, well, let's just make it public, and so they went shopping to sort of let everyone know, and hopefully it would filter back to the ex and get them off their case.
There are lots of ways of adding a twist to it. We've got a lot of tropes that go really well with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, they certainly are not cookie cutter
No.
stories,
Not
the
by
ones,
any
the
stretch.
dozen
Yeah.
or so we've talked about.
Yeah, we could talk for a few hours on this one. Like there's so many
Yeah,
different
let's
things
go,
we
Narelle.
won't.
I've got more.
Could, but we can't today.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, gee darn.
I know. Thank you, Toni. We got to wrap up. So we appreciate you being here today.
Yeah.
Remind everyone where they can find you and your books.
You can find me on ToniShiloh.com, and all my books and their links are on the website as well. And thanks for letting me hang with you guys.
We are always glad when you want to come hang with us.
Yes.
For sure.
So if we missed your favorite fake relationship story, please tell us in the comments, either on YouTube or on our Facebook page. We are glad that you hung out with us today as well. You can find information about the podcast at inspiromance.com/storychats. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next week. In the meantime, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.